All right, well, let me outline kind of the plan of what we're going to be approaching and how we're going to do it this afternoon. I've kind of got this divided into three broad sections or topics that we're going to cover on transmission and axle oils. That's the big topic. So we're first going to take a look at kind of the history, where we came from and what used to be in terms of transmission and axle oils. We're going to then go into the technologies that are involved, and this is where a bunch of the changes are, the technologies in transmissions, for instance, driving the needs for new and different transmission fluids. Then we're going to work on taking a look at the fluids themselves. What are the functions? What are we asking the transmission oils to do? And how they're formulated. How do you make what's in a transmission oil in order to get it to do those functions? So that'll be part of the second section. And then the third thing we're going to spend some time with, this is what that handout is about the specifications. There's an enormous growth in the number of specs out there. There always have been a fairly large number of specs to start with. So we're going to go through and hopefully get these to make a little more sense, or at least give you some sense in your mind related to the transmissions that you deal with. I mean, not everybody's going to need to know every box on every chart on this handout, right? Just the stuff that applies to your particular fleet. So hopefully we'll be able to give you some guidance there. So that's the plan. So we're going to start off with kind of the basics and the background of where we came from. The once upon a time. Once upon a time, this is what you needed to know about your transmission and axle oils, right? Every transmission was a manual transmission, and every final drive was either a spiral bevel or hypoid gear, and you had a mineral gear lube 90 called for in some gearboxes. You had an 80-90 that went in some gearboxes and some axles, and you had 85-140 for really heavy-duty axles. And that was pretty much what you needed to know. And that's not the case anymore by any stretch. And the key reason this changed has to do with the changes in transmissions, in transmission designs. Okay? This particularly is true getting away from manual transmissions, that the OEM is designing newer transmissions, the automated manual transmissions. So we'll take a closer look at the transmission technologies out there now, the current state of transmission technologies. The new stuff, new OEM designs, are largely driven by a need for improved fuel economy. Okay, improved fuel economy. As a result, they're designing these transmissions. Each of these OEMs is saying, okay, this is our idea on how to do it. We're going to design our transmission this way. And they design their transmission, and then they say, oh, by the way, we need a transmission oil for our transmission. So now they have to go design and specify a transmission oil that will do what it needs to do in their specific transmission. And that's why there's been a sudden growth in these individual requirements, these individual OEM specs required for each transmission. So not only are they expecting this oil to perform well in their new transmissions, they're also expecting it to last longer. Okay? There was a time, if you think back a few decades, the Eaton Road Ranger extended warranty program, 500,000 miles. That was like, oh my gosh, that's a long distance. Well, 500,000 miles on these new transmissions is the standard change interval for them anymore. Okay, they're expecting the oil to last a real long time and expecting the oil to do a lot more. And this is particularly true in the automatic and the automated manual transmissions that are new. So we're going to take a closer look at these technologies. And starting off, we'll start again with looking at the manual transmissions. Manual transmissions, of course, been around a long time. Eaton is probably the big guy in the market and selling these things. What's new in manual transmissions, which having been around time, is just an increase in the number of speeds available in the newer transmissions. So that's important. And again, Eaton's pushing people towards extended and longer term drain intervals on it. Automatic transmissions, dominated by Allison. These have seen continued growth. Very commonly used in commercial buses, for instance. Some other smaller and mid-size, Class 6 type applications. A lot of growth in the automatic transmissions. And then these automatic manual transmissions, or sometimes called automated manual transmissions, or AMTs. And this is where the real innovation is. This is the stuff where the specs get really tricky and they're really finicky about it. The makers here, Volvo Mack has a series of products. Daimler has a product. They work very close with Detroit Diesel in their design. And then Eaton has a strategic agreement with PACCAR, but you can buy an Eaton AMT for other vehicles as well. All right, and one of the things you may be asking yourself, unless you're a Senergy employee, when you say, "Oh, there's a question," what's the difference between an automatic transmission and an automated manual transmission? Okay, the answer is, I'm giving you this one. It's not on the test. Automatic transmissions transfer their power through a torque converter, right? You get that thing spinning up. The torque converter is using transmission fluid as a liquid clutch to transfer power to the gears and to the rest of the drivetrain. So that's what an automatic transmission fluid. An automated manual is different in that there's no torque converter. What it has is a series of servos and controls that are actually engaging and disengaging clutches. Okay? So it's got a clutch. It's like it's got a foot built inside of the thing. And the reason these guys have strategic relationships with engine makers like Daimler with Detroit Diesel is because you get the best results when you integrate the communication between the engine and the transmission. And it senses all these factors like speed and load, getting the proper shift points, tells it when to upshift and when to downshift and what gear it should be in. So that's the fully integrated nature of these automated manual transmissions. Definitely different than a regular automatic transmission. You also, as a result, do get better mileage out of an AMT than you do out of an automatic. This little chart over here gives us some idea of what the market projections are. This was a study done recently of this is North America, the breakdown of what's out there in terms of manual, auto, and AMTs. And by 2025, you can see the manuals are shrinking quite a bit, growth in the AMT market, and growth in automatic transmissions. All right? And then the fourth type of transmission technology I'm going to mention up here is power shift. Power shift type transmissions are associated with Caterpillar and Yellow Metal and earth-moving equipment. These are designed around a set of, or multiple sets of planetary gears and allow you to shift power without having to clutch things, just by moving a lever. Okay, this particularly applies in these earth-moving equipment where we're talking about low-speed, high-torque applications. Okay, this is my summary of the transmission technologies. If we go to axle and differential technologies, this is an area that hasn't changed as much as this stuff has. All right, the regular spiral bevel type bevel gear or spiral bevel gear been around a long time and is really a fairly easy lubrication application. You get a good thick oil, develop a thick oil film between the teeth, and everything's good there. All right, so though there are some axle designs that use these kind of teeth. More commonly used and seen are the hypoid gears. Okay? Hypoid gears is a much more difficult application to lubricate, and it ties into the nature of this type of curvature in the teeth and how they interact. Okay? There are some curved teeth that still make a very thick film, but the hypoid type teeth actually induce a lot of sliding, metal to metal sliding as opposed to metal to metal rolling. Well, the more sliding you get, the more likely you have metal to metal just rubbing on it and degrading the other surface. And so hypoid gears require the use of EP additives. And we'll be talking about EP additives when I get to the formulation part of the presentation here. EP additives help prevent gear damage due to the sliding in hypoid gears. So hypoid gears always require EP additives. The third bit of axle technology I want to show you guys is limited slip. Okay? Limited slip differentials are designed with these friction plates or clutch plates inherent in them. This demonstration doesn't necessarily show how they work, but if you have a regular axle and you have one wheel that's on a patch of ice, okay, everybody knows what happens? All the power ends up going to the one on the ice. It spins around, you don't go anywhere. Limited slip differentials detect that one wheel is freewheeling, kind of causes these brakes, we call them that, these clutches to engage and allow some power to be transferred to the wheel that's on dry land and not on the patch of ice. Therefore, you can actually get moving off of that patch of ice. Okay, that's the real short-term explanation of what the benefit of a limited slip differential is and how they work. Limited slip axles require a specific set of additives to get these clutch plates to play well together and to have the appropriate frictional properties. So this drives an additive requirement in certain axle oils. All right? And in terms of final drive technologies, final drives are largely used in heavy-duty earth-moving equipment. Your traditional D9 dozer and lots of other heavy-duty earth-moving equipment, certain tractor designs, a lot of these planetary type final drives or double reduction bull gear type final drives. Again, this is very high load, low speed kind of operation, predominantly found in the off-road markets. These do not have clutch materials in them.